Welcome to the Lab 7 walkthroughs. We are working through Lab 7 in order of the lab document. Let me show that off to you here. So here's our lovely Lab 7 document, all about geostatistics. And we'll ignore that Word thinks that's spelled wrong. It's definitely spelled right. 8 different parts here. So this is the first of 8 different quick little walkthrough videos. You'll notice about the same format as usual. Again, practice questions throughout. Those answers are actually in a separate document that is in your Lab 7 materials called Practice Question Answers or something self-explanatory like that. Yeah, practice answers. There you go. Those then cover the answers to these little bold practice questions we'll see throughout. The other addition here is a little bit of a summary so that you can see in just a couple sentences what this section is about. There's a lot of sections, but they're fairly short this time around. Then connections to the geospatial technology competency model. So those are the real connections to the items and topics you're learning in the specific session. They're then linked to that competency model, meaning what you're expected to know if you're doing work in geospatial technologies, which we are, and then a link to the video walkthrough, which would lead you directly to this video. Spooky. Let's talk about part A here, zonal statistics. Zonal statistics is all about understanding the distribution of your data, understanding the distribution of the information that you're looking at by certain zones or certain areas. So we're going to use raster and vector data together here to make this work. So I'm going to add some raster and vector data into my view here. If I knew where my Lab 7 was, there it is. I could then load in my data. So I'm going to load in topography and this land ownership. No, I don't know why my ARC is doing that. We're going to ignore it. So I've got 2 different parts of data here. I've got topography, a lovely DEM. Look how pretty. And I've got this vector of land ownership. This land ownership vector is actually pretty interesting. If we took a peek at its attribute table, we can see that not only do we have 8,000 or so different shapes, we also have some ownership information of who owns this land. We're out in the US West in Nevada. Start an argument with that out west sometime. So we're looking really at kind of like the whole northwest corner of Nevada here. If we want to see who's owning this, what they're doing with this here, we could look at the symbology, maybe go into unique values and go by owner. See all these different ownership types out here. Lots of different classifications here. Most of this federal land, federally owned land, Bureau of Land Management, US Forest Service, so on and so forth. So initially you might say, okay, given all these different land ownership types, given all these different people who are owning this land, what are some of the different characteristics of this land? What are some of the different ways this land is, has different attributes? Maybe topography, because that's the data that we have. And so the big part of part A is using this zonal statistics tool, which we're going to use as zonal statistics as table to find out the differences in elevation between these different land types. Now, or land ownership types, I should say now. Right, I could click back and forth on these and just, squint and be like, oh, maybe there's a difference between, no, it's worthless. I'm not even going to keep pretending to try that. So let's use zonal statistics as table. I'm going to do all of in this walkthrough, all of my searches up here in the search bar. I've given up on trying to understand what is in that actual toolbox or how things are organized. It's okay. Looking at the tool here on the right-hand side, a couple of key options. First one is insert the input raster or feature zone data. I really wish this just said input zone data because it's a lot less confusing. These are the zones. The zones meaning what areas, What configurations do you want to know information by? In this case, I want to know elevation by landowner. So I'm going to put landowner in here. That's the zone. Also, it's the only one that can be a feature. So that's also a good hint. My field is going to be owner because I want to know by owner. And then my value raster is just my raster, which is to say topography. I'm going to give this a better name than that. I'll call it owner. Well, I'm not going to call it anything if it looks like that. Owner topo. That'll work for me. Owner topo. I like that. We're going to ignore all data, and I'm going to take all of the statistics. I love statistics, so we're going to take them all. You hit run, and as this is running, think to yourself, what kind of output do we expect? Zonal statistics as table. What type of output should we expect? I don't know, maybe a table. Yes, it comes as a table. This table is automatically added to your map. And then, hey, look at that. We have the owners, different owners types, and then we have all the statistics of that ownership type. So not only do we get a rehash of our area calculation, we get a min and a max and a range and a mean and a standard, all the good stuff. So zonal statistics as table then allows us to understand the nature of some raster file as distributed by the zones in a shapefile or another raster file, and it outputs for us a table. We could then take that table to Excel, make a pretty graph, something like that. So that's zonal statistics as table. Hopefully you have a lot of fun with tables and zones and statistics. Next video will cover extract values to points.